and welcome to WRPB and WRPB Studios. You know, I've been around a long time, and the gentleman sitting next to me is with an organization that's been around longer than me, but I remember him from the days of being in Manhattan, and the bell ringing and the red kettle. With me is Jeff Marquis.
Yes, correct.
Okay, from the Salvation Army.
Yes.
Did I get it right?
Yes, you did.
I try to get out at the beginning because I'm old and I'll forget.
No worries.
Okay. How long has the Salvation Army been around? Do you know?
So the Salvation Army was started in 1865 in England. It's been on the Treasure Coast here since the mid-40s. So we're looking at between 70 and 80 years now that we've been here on the Treasure Coast.
And you don't look a day over.
No, I'm very youthful. Very good skin regimen that keeps me going.
How long have you been in?
So I've been a part of the Salvation Army pretty much my whole life. My parents were officers; they were pastors.
Okay.
I've been full-time with the Salvation Army since I graduated college, and I've been as an officer, a leader in the Salvation Army. I'm in my 7th year currently.
Okay, so you gotta help me out here.
Yes.
Okay, so let's take the Salvation out for a second.
Okay.
Let's talk about Army.
Uh-huh.
Is it run kind of like an Army with different captain,
Yeah, so it wasn't started out that way. It was first started by a Methodist minister called the Christian Mission, and slowly they kind of took on this military jargon. So it's led by officers, it's led by individuals who have gone through the ordination process, who have gone through the training school. And so the leaders in the Salvation Army are officers. They have a rank, so I'm a captain with the Salvation Army that, for the most part, outside of a few things, that's tied to years of service, how long you've been an officer.
Are you a minister?
Yes, as well.
Okay. Me too.
Okay, great.
I'm one of the few Jewish ministers.
Oh, there we go. Nice. Nice.
Because I don't believe, barring some sect, I don't believe that we're very different in many ways.
No, it's true.
Okay, we all look to one God, and we're all blessed to have that one God looking towards us.
Very true.
Okay, and that's how I look at it. And I believe our mission in life is to help others.
Correct.
Okay, and we all help in different ways, and we're blessed to have organizations like Salvation Army to help people. I've been blessed in my life to not be in a position where I needed that. And I've been blessed in my life to do things like you guys would do. We did a 45,000-pound food giveaway in Fort Pierce. I work with an organization that gives cars to single moms.
Great.
And I sit on a crisis line for adult sexual abuse survivors because I'm one, and I know the ins and outs of it. But to have I'm just one. You guys are a whole massive army.
Yeah.
Okay. So, getting back to it, I guess Army, in the Salvation Army, the word Army is really secondary to the word salvation.
Very much so. The Army it really applies more to the structure, right? It applies to, it's a hierarchical system, and I have a boss who, and you get moved around similar in the military. I get rotated as anyone in the military would. They tell me where I'm going to go serve next. But really the focus is on the salvation, right? The mission of the Salvation Army is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and to meet human needs in his name without discrimination. And those aren't two separate facts. William Booth, the guy who started the Salvation Army, who was a Methodist minister, he said, it's for the sake of the soul that I serve the body, right? It's this understanding that it's soup, soap, and salvation, that when we want to talk to you about the gospel of Jesus and we want to talk to you about alternative ways of making it through, like as opposed to turning to substance or other things, you're not going to do that if you're hungry, and you're not going to do that if you don't know where you're going to sleep. And so it's for the sake of the soul that we minister to the body. But also just all throughout Scripture, we can see that God had placed in the systems ways to care for those on the margins of society, whether that be gleaning. If you look in the Old Testament, if you look in Acts, you see the way that they created a system to care for the widows and the orphans. These are, in that system, the people that really didn't have the means to care for themselves. And so, in many ways, what we do in our social service area is to care for those people that maybe are on the margins of society, that really struggle to keep food on their table and keep a roof over their head.
So, you part of the Salvation Army. Do you house separately, or as an officer, do you house within the unit of the building or whatever?
Yeah, so the Salvation Army, it looks different in every community. So so when I talk about our community here, it's going to be different. In Fort Myers, they've got a much larger, and some places are going to be smaller. But here on the Treasure Coast, we have a women's and children's shelter, which is on our premise in our Stewart location. And we have 8 rooms that can house anywhere up to 32 to 36 individuals. It's really depending on how many kids the mom has. Right now we have 27 people staying at our facility. It's transitional in nature. They come to us and they are rebuilding their lives. Some of them have come into these situations through no fault of their own. We had some individuals whose spouses have passed, and they were the breadwinner. They were the ones who took care of things. And so in many ways, for the most part, these are women that are rebuilding their lives, trying to adjust. There's no way that these women, who many of them haven't worked in 6, 8, 10 years, are re-entering the workforce. Making minimum wage isn't going to be able to provide for them, especially here on the Treasure Coast. And so it's working with them not only to budget, not only to learn this is how you pay a cell phone bill. Many of them haven't even had to worry about that in the past. And so we work to reestablish a new way of life for them, and we do that through we partner with IRSC to be able to provide education and certifications. Like, how do we get them to where they're not getting jobs that I guess now pay $10 an hour, but now they're going to be paying $12, $14, $16 an hour, because that's what you need in order to live.
To barely get by.
Yeah.
And life is a series of voids, and not being able to eat or not having a roof over your head, those are a series of voids that make you do things that you would not normally do, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And go directions you might not normally go. In life, I'm a firm believer that bad things happen to good people. I've been through that scenario, okay? I'm, thank God, healthy to an extent, okay? And I attribute most of my success to the thought that I give back. And I think, and I was just having lunch with a young lady who just did a show here, and we were talking about, she says, I have a hard time taking from anybody. Like, I was going to pay for lunch. I'm paying for lunch. She said, well, I don't like, and I said, what you might not understand is that gives me pleasure. You're going, not through tough times, but tough enough times. You have 2 kids, you're a single mom. It's not going to change my life if I pay for lunch. It really doesn't matter. I think that God's mission is for those who have to give back. And giving back is not financial all the time. I was at your facility this week. I think you had an open house. Okay, so I was there. And you came out with a donation. It's nice, surely. But it's also nice to have someone to volunteer to help serve the food. Someone to volunteer in maybe in the shelter. Someone to volunteer because you're giving stuff for Christmas, helping keep those things organized and delivered. You have Christmas Angels, I guess?
Yes, a toy program for needy families.
Right, and what I thought was really cool about that program compared to others, and they're all good. If you're giving stuff and helping others, you're doing good. So I don't want to take away from that. But your program is really interesting because it's so niched and funneled to, you're basically adopting Mary's kids, and Mary's kids wants, I'm old, so I'll say Teddy Ruxpin and a Tonka door.
There we go. That works.
And they made the list of what they want, and you try to fulfill what's on their list, and it goes directly to them, not willy-nilly. And then that's not bad either.
Yeah, it really comes down to a different philosophy of giving, of the way you run the programs. The way we do it is more complicated in nature. It requires a significant more amount of manpower on the front side to assemble the bags and to put it into groups for the families. But it enables us, because what we find is individuals will want to give, right? But sometimes when you have such a broad approach, they don't know what to do. Like, they'll go into a Walmart or a Target or Amazon, and they'll say, okay, this looks nice, not knowing really fully what that we're tapped in fully into their potential of what they're able to give, what they would desire to give. And more often than not, these individuals, when they want to buy a gift for another program, they're going to be thinking of their kid, their grandkid, their neighbor. What are their interests? What do they like Tonka trucks, or they might be more interested in dinosaurs? And so they're going to be gravitating towards that way. And so now what you're able to do is you can say, I've got an 8-year-old son, and so I want to adopt an 8-year-old boy because that helps to give me a context around what they're interested in. It also helps me to know maybe I can, I'm going to get my son this gift, and so I'm going to get this
I get two of
child
them.
one. Yeah, I can get 2 of them, and it helps to cover that. It also helps to provide for the kid. I've got a 5-year-old at home, and there are things that he likes and there are things that he doesn't, and it doesn't. It's not a way of saying that this person's ungrateful. And sometimes we take an approach with, especially the poor, is the premise of beggars can't be choosers, and there's definitely some premise where that's correct, but that doesn't mean we want to settle on that. And so what we want to, the program in and of itself is more than just being able to provide a kid a toy at Christmas. This goes across the board to all of our programs. It's about giving people dignity who over time and time again have lost that. They've lost respect for themselves. They've learned this idea that, do you want to know what? I'm in this state, and so I can't ask for what I want. I can't try to get these things. They have been told time and time and again that this thing that you want is out of reach. And so as starting to chip away at that, we can start to really start to change their mindset. Because the people that we work with, we are trying to break cycles of generational poverty, right? And I describe it this way, and forgive me if you've heard this before, right? So it's the mother who, when she makes a roast, cuts off an inch on each side of the roast before she puts it in the pan, and the child says, well, why do you do that? Well, I do it that way because my mom did it. And when she goes to her mom, she says, well, why did you cut off the inch off the pan? And, well, it's because that's what my mom did. And then they go to grandma and say, why'd you cut off the sides of the roast? And she said, well, because my pan was only this big. And so what happens is you learn this behavior and you don't understand that there's some other alternative for me, that I don't have to rely on these different agencies to be able to make it through the year, that I can have other alternatives to be able to become completely self-sufficient. And that's what generational poverty is. It's when you've learned that you don't know any alternative other than going to a food pantry, other than going to a place to pay your rent. And so you're trying to break that. And that's what this does. It gives people dignity back.
I think the way we word it is that you're there to give a hand up, not a handout.
Correct. Very true.
Okay? We're at the top of our time. Mm-hmm. How do people contact you guys?
So the best way to do it is you can head to online to salvationarmymartin.org. You can head to our Facebook, Salvation Army of Martin, St. Lucie, and Okeechobee. We serve all 3 counties. Or you can call 772-288-1471. And whether that be needing help, wanting to help, we can do both.
Jeff, I want to thank you for coming on.
It's my pleasure.
It's a blessing of what you do. Everybody, Salvation Army's been around a long time. It's not, and I've always said this, if you throw a penny in the red kettle, it's as good as throwing $1 in the red kettle. You do what you do, and they'll make it work, okay? So where you think, I don't want to do it because I only got 50 cents to my name, that 50 cents goes pretty far. You would be surprised at what's available for you guys, for Salvation Army, to do with every penny that you donate. And it's always going to go to a good cause. I want to thank you for coming on. Everybody, check them out, and we'll be right back. Thank you.